Joining us now, we're about to get bold on the show. Maria Taylor, ESPN sideline analyst and expert on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline, working for the SEC Network as part of ESPN. Maria, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Okay, so it's not past us to remember the last time you covered a BYU game in September of 2013. You witnessed the Taysom Hill beatdown, 550 rushing yards for BYU as they ran all over Texas. So, Maria, is it fair that we bank on you as our key good luck charm against Missouri tomorrow?
Hey, I will totally take that. But if I'm the good luck charm, then you also need a 2-hour rain delay and like a tornado-like storm coming through right before the game.
I thought the world was ending. Seriously,
that was my first trip to Provo, man. And you guys, everyone was like, "No, it never really rains here. There's never storms." And then there was like this crazy storm right before the game.
That was
never seen anything like it.
Yeah, that was seriously the weirdest weather day I've ever seen in Provo, and that's your one big, impression of Provo.
Time. That's all I got. But then I have Taysom Hill going off for like 300 yards, so that was fun too.
Maria Taylor of the SEC Network joining us on BYU Sports Nation. What an interesting buildup to this game. And I imagine that you probably haven't encountered a specific situation like this. But Maria, as you look at the events of the week off the field with Missouri in mind, how do you think that will affect the emotions of the play when the game actually begins?
Yeah, we talked to Gary Pinkel a couple of days ago, and his biggest concern really for his team was whether or not they would be distracted. Because at the end of the day, and he's been a head coach for 25 years, he said, you can't plan for anything like this, and there's no way to really know how it's going to affect your team. And like you said, I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my days of reporting, and there haven't been any opportunities for players or student athletes to make a stand in the way that this team did and have the effect and the change that it had on Monday. So it's a completely different realm and a cause and effect that I think we're going to see, and no one knows how it's going to pan out on Saturday. All we know is that, Coach Pinkel says that his team has come back together. They were happy to be back at practice and kind of get back to some normalcy, although it is a new normal for them. And then hopefully being able to have some success on the field on Saturday. But remember, coming into this matchup, that this is the team that was struggling to find themselves offensively, and things weren't exactly going well on the field. And then now you add in an outside kind of distraction and them going out and making a stand and trying to make a difference. And right now, you can't believe that every single player on the team's mind is solely on the game, because it is just that, a game, and there's so much else going on.
And it's interesting because with all that said, Maria, it seems like this will either be a rallying cry that, they get behind and unifies the team, or it could be something that's still a distraction. How do you see it so far?
I kind of see it as a rallying cry. And most of the teams that I've covered, players come together over things where they have to protect each other, where they have to insulate themselves. And if you look at what's going on in the campus in the aftermath, I mean, there's kind of been a swell of potential violence. There's been a swell of threats. And usually that's when a team would come together to protect those who are probably making a stand. So I would think that the team is kind of coming together, boxing themselves in, kind of building a fort around one another and kind of focusing on the game, because the easiest way to calm certain things that are going negatively is to win. I mean, at the end of the day, winning cures all. Sometimes if they can come out and get a win and everyone can look at this whole story and say, at the beginning of the week, we saw a team make a stand for social justice. At the end of the week, we saw a team come together and win, then that makes for a great story. Now, if they come out and it seems distracted or disjointed and, well, they missed a practice and everyone's wondering whether or not the team should have done what they did, then it's a completely different storyline that we're talking about on Sunday. And, of course, for the BYU fans, you're hoping the latter happens.
Absolutely. Maria, when you look at the broadcast, now that there's so much more depth to this game, how is the SEC Network handling the broadcast maybe a little bit differently than normal?
Yeah, my Saturday morning is a little bit different. We'll, doing hits for SportsCenter and doing things for game day. And obviously we're getting interviews with Coach Pinkel a little bit more than we normally would. But as far as when the game kicks off, I mean, the focus is certainly the game. We will make sure that every viewer is up to date on what has happened and the backstory off of the field. But we also don't want to hit it over the head too much, because we understand that people are there to watch a game, and it is a win-loss situation and an opportunity for, Missouri to get another win, to be in bowl eligible. And then for BYU, it could be a great win playing an SEC team for the first time since 2011. So we do want to focus on the game. It is important to us to to get through everything that is important and pertinent off the field, but then get right back to the game as soon as kickoff happens.
Maria Taylor from the SEC Network, sideline reporter, college football analyst, joining us on BYU Sports Nation. What specific storylines are you watching for within the game after kickoff?
I think the biggest question right now is, if you're looking at the Missouri Tigers, is where's the offense? It hasn't been there. It's been absent. Russell Hansbrough has been struggling with an ankle injury. He's a starting running back for the Tigers and really hasn't been 100% until maybe last week when we saw a rushing touchdown. And a touchdown in general for Missouri had been hard to come by. And so I think one of the biggest questions is whether or not the offense can self-start. Having the freshman quarterback kind of learning on the fly, when is the next time you finally get a receiving touchdown? And will the receivers step up and make some of the catches that we haven't seen them make down the stretch in SEC play? And then, of course, the opportunity to see a game in Arrowhead Stadium. I think that always changes the dynamic, whether or not fans travel and create any type of home crowd environment, or if it's neutral and how many fans are traveling from BYU. I don't know how the Cougars usually travel, but I also think that kind of changes the tone a little bit when it's going to be in Kansas City. It's not in Columbia. It's an hour and a half away. So it'll be a lot of interesting storylines going on the field as well.
Who needs to win this game more, in your opinion?
Definitely Missouri. I mean, they're sitting at 4-5. At least BYU has an opportunity to go to a bowl in this situation. Still, obviously, a lot on the line for both teams because as you come down the stretch run, what do they always say? November to remember. November can be the game changer for any team at this moment in time. And BYU with an opportunity to have such a great run to finish the season, possible and great bowls. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, November decides where you're going to end up and how memorable your bowl season is going to be. And right now, Missouri is really just trying to get a win to become bowl eligible, get some of those extra practices in, but with Tennessee and Arkansas on the horizon.
Can we just play the game already?
I know, right?
I've been ready for this all week, that the storylines are absolutely juicy and really intriguing. But as you look at BYU trying to get to 8-2 and win 6 games in a row for the first time in independence, just outside of the top 25, would a win over Missouri, given that they have struggled this year, generate national respect for the Cougars?
You know what I think it would be? It would take not just a win, but a dominant win, kind of in all phases of the game. If you look really good against the Tigers, then absolutely. I think it's something that everyone, first of all, is going to be watching the game, right? A lot of eyes are going to be on the Missouri-BYU game, if nothing more than because of what's going on off the field. But it's also someone tuning in could see BYU in a primetime slot playing really, really well against an SEC team, and that could mean a lot for an independent team. And being able to try to finish out the season with Fresno State and Utah State, very winnable games to finish out November, that could be one of those ones that has a lot of eyes on it, an opportunity to show the skill and the talent of the Cougars to a national scene.
Maria, what stuck out to you about BYU as you've prepared for this game?
I think the biggest thing that you learn about BYU when you're watching them, even when I was there back in 2013, is it's a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Like, always winning the games that you're absolutely supposed to win, putting themselves in a situation in every single phase of the game to do well. And it's hard to come by. Usually you find a team with a weakness in one area, but it seems as though BYU always has the answers or playing within themselves, never trying to do too much. Everybody is doing exactly what their job is. No one is ever out of place. And I guess that speaks to discipline. Maybe I'm thinking of BYU is always a very, very disciplined team, and that always stands out to me.
Follow her at Maria Taylor 7 on the Twitter machine. She works for the SEC Network, and Jeremy and I are huge Brent Musburger fans. We've had Jesse Palmer on the show as well. What is it like to work with one of the legends of college football, Brent Musburger?
It is crazy. Every time I'm around him, I mean, we can just be ordering dinner, and maybe someone doesn't recognize who he is, and then he says, like, I'll have kale. And they turn around, and they're like, oh, my God, you're Brent Musburger. Like, it takes 2 words.
You are looking live at Applebee's.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the ribs. But, no, you learn something from him every single game, and I feel like one thing that he's really taught me is talking to other people and, like, what I can bring as a reporter. how I can elevate my game and my craft. And he's constantly teaching. I don't even think that he knows it. You know what I mean? And he's critiquing and letting you know what went well. And it's always in a positive way. Like, I look forward to hearing what he thinks about certain things or talking to him about the way that I would like to handle a story, because he's seen it all. You know what I mean? And rarely do you have a broadcast partner that has been through everything that he's been through and has seen like every single level of sport and athletics that can be seen.
Certainly a treat for BYU fans to be able to watch a Cougar game with Brent Musburger on the call. Have you mastered the post-game field storming box out with the coach yet?
You know, I've never had to do it before. I'm trying to think what game. I've never had a complete field storm. But in my mind, I'm 6'2", so I would be great at boxing out. I played basketball.
Elbows?
I dare them to come for me. Yeah. Elbows, everything. I would take flagrant fouls all over the place, but I'm getting the interview.
Maria Taylor of the SEC Network and ESPN with us on BYU Sports Nation. It's been a pleasure, Maria. A couple of things before we let you go. First of all, come to Provo again when there's not the crazy storm before a game, so that you have some other memory of Provo.
I know. You guys tell me when it's safe to come, and I will totally come, because it was beautiful. I loved being there. I just got rained on the whole time.
Any time but when you came, really.
Right.
And not November.
Okay, and not November. Gotcha.
And we hope that you don't have to deal with a field storm tomorrow. I don't know.
Neutral site, probably not going to happen. Yeah.
Probably no field storm there, right? They can't jump over the stadium in Arrowhead. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Check out BYU Missouri tomorrow on the SEC Network with Maria Taylor, Brent Musburger, and Jesse Palmer on the call. That will be 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 Eastern, 7-2 BYU against 4-5 Missouri. Maria, thanks so much for the time.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.